So there's been a great deal written about this, but the real issue for me and the class is about the moral mazes, also known as the gray zone. So the other broad area is moral mazes of management, and includes numerous ethical problems that have nothing to do with legal and illegal that managers have to deal with on a daily basis, like one we're going to have a little film video clip on tonight, the hardest one to understand for people, by the way, when it comes to the moral mazes, which is conflict of interest. And whenever you start talking about conflict of interest, I will tell. Let me personalize it. Whenever I start talking to people about conflict of interest, the answer, and I say that's a conflict of interest, that's a conflict of interest, the answer that I get is that's standard business practice. Everybody does it. And that makes it, and by the way, I'll agree that some of those things are standard business practice, and that in certain businesses it's common practice, and virtually everybody does it. Here's my problem. It still doesn't make it ethical. A whole bunch of people doing something wrong doesn't make it right. It just means that a whole bunch of people don't understand conflict of interest. There's nothing like the supplier coming to town and taking you to a big lunch to understand that that's a conflict of interest. And it's unethical. And by the way, what makes it even more difficult is that this is the one area where what is typically true, more often than not. What makes it so difficult? Well, in some cases, it's common practice, but in other cases, this is what makes it such a tough ethical issue.
Lack of awareness. They're not
What?
Lack of awareness. They're not aware that it's happening.
I'm sorry, I can't understand the first
They
thing.
can't understand.
Who can't understand?
People who are in the middle of conflict of interest.
No, that's not it. That's right. That's oftentimes correct, but that's not it. Here's what it is. No actual wrongdoing need take place. Conflict of interest does not require actual wrongdoing.
The companies I've worked for, their policy is always nothing can occur that will cause the appearance of a conflict of interest.
Bingo.
And that's how they write their policy.
Absolutely correct, and that's what makes it so tough. So you will commonly, when you talk about like the luncheon thing, you'll commonly get this. Well, what if all my suppliers come to town and I let all of them buy me lunch? And I ordered the same thing all the time. Now, is it a conflict of interest? You don't understand. It doesn't have to have wrongdoing associated with it. It's the one area where you can have a significant ethical issue with no wrongdoing. It doesn't have to be actual. It simply requires, and Jeff's word was exactly correct, it simply requires the appearance to the external, unknowledgeable observer. It doesn't have to require wrongdoing. And I'll tell you something else about conflict of interest. It is the epitome of the slippery slope. Once you start down the slope of conflict of interest, you're going to see it tonight. It's devastating. Where are the people in the room that are in something related to aerospace? It's an aerospace example. You're going to love it. Okay, so we have potential conflict of interest, wrongful use of resources, mismanagement of contracts, agreements, etc. We talk about those moral mazes. Let's stop for a second, and I'll tell you where else. Let me just erase all this on slide. So where else does the moral maze come in? These numerous ethical problems. Nowhere does it come in as significantly as if you're doing business internationally. Because when you do business internationally, where did you tell me we get our morals? A couple of sessions ago. Where were the places you told me we get our morals?
Family.
Family?
Religion.
Friends, religion.
Sociology, social structure.
Whose social structure?
Culture.
The one you're
Social
in.
structure.
You start doing business internationally. My favorite example is always the company car. Did I tell you about that? So, Jody graduates from EMP, and all of a sudden people start pursuing him because he's got this engineering management degree. He goes, he's got all this background, but now he's got an engineering management degree from CU. This guy is hot stuff. So now he's interviewing in a front range. Just go with me, Mona. I'm on a roll here. So now he's downtown in Denver interviewing at a really nice firm that has a chance of not having to be bailed out. So he's interviewing down there and he says, so what can I expect if I take this job? And the interviewer says, well, you can expect that we'll pay you $185,000 a year to start. We have a fabulous fringe benefit package. We got your basic medical. We got your basic dental. Now we're going to want you to do a lot of traveling around the Front Range. So we give you a company car, a Jaguar, so you can drive around the Front Range and visit the customers. We're going to give you a nice office. We provide you with a laptop. And it's a great company and a great opportunity. We hope you'll join us. How does all that sound to you guys?
Sold. Sorry.
No, you can't take the job yet.
Oh.
You got to know if they're going to allow you to use data in decision making.
I was going to call my wife at break.
Okay, well, back off. Okay, all that sound up and up? Mm-hmm. Okay, so Beth graduates with a degree from the engineering management program. Guess where Beth has always wanted to live and work? Bangkok. So she flies over to Thailand. She's applied for a number of jobs in Thailand. She sits down, and she's applied for a job in the government, essentially managing bids for huge construction contracts across the country. And she says, so tell me, what can I expect if I take this job? And the interviewer says, well, you can expect 300,000 baht per month, and we have very little medical, and we have very little dental. We don't have a lot of fringe benefits. You will get an office, but you have to understand that you will be the person to whom companies will come when we put out a request for bid for major construction contracts, and they will give you the contract, and then they will pay you to considering the contract. In other words, to put their bid into the pipeline and get evaluated against everybody else. So they give you the contract, and then they'll give you anywhere from, I don't know, $20,000 baht, and that will be a payment to you to take their bid and put it in the contract pipeline, and that will augment your salary. And of course, I say that in the United States, and people look at me and smile the minute I say they're going to pay you to have their bid considered. Because what word flashes through our minds?
Bribe.
Bribe. Thank you very much. So we say, that's a bribe. Excuse me. That's a bribe. Now, what if in Thailand, bribe is company car? What if there's absolutely no difference between paying Beth to have the contract, the request, the bid entered into the contract pipeline, and Jody getting a Jaguar to drive around the Front Range and visit our clients?
It's from a different source.
It's fine if it's in Thailand.
It's in
It's
Thailand.
right.
It is the way they do business.
Yeah,
Right.
but I mean, the bribes are coming from the external.
Oh, I don't. It's not a bribe. That's my point.
Well, the source.
But my point is, it doesn't matter because
Right.
it's not a bribe because they don't have that word.
It's company policy.
It's the way they do business. There are many countries in the world where the term is vigorous. There are many countries in the world that I've worked in where that's the way you do business. That's part of the business process. It's no different than a company car. The real dilemma you have is we're not from there. We actually have laws about what you can and cannot do.